Welcome. Welcome to another episode of The Impact of AI, supported by WILDA, Women Leaders in Data and Artificial Intelligence. Every week, we explore how AI impacts us personally and professionally. And this week is no different. Today, we're here with Andrew Yip. He's a food technologist and also a chef. And we're going to explore how AI could potentially impact food. And we're not going to specifically focus on the food industry or the supply chain or the point of sale. We're not going to talk about how AI is being used for drones to harvest, the food in the farms, but we're going to bring this forward to the behind the scenes, the technology of food and how AI and AI technologies could be expanding this space differently and how it's going to impact us. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa.
We'd like to start with your professional journey as both a chef in the earlier career and how you've transformed that to your current role, which is the future of food.
Okay, all right. So I started as a cook during that time, a junior role in a restaurant. Then progressively, I worked up to the ladder in the kitchen hierarchy. Some point of time, I know that there's really more about what I could do within about food. So I diverted my career into a different path where I got myself a apprenticeship in one of the largest food company. Okay. Then from there, I actually learned about there's really more than just about chicken, beef, soup, and etc. It's really about how to create a good product using the available ingredient and raw material that we are able to utilize them from the basic of food building up to a complete delicious product. So from there, actually, I see a lot of interaction between human being and another human being try to find out the answer. But as we progress on, I do realize that there are possibility of using machine to do it, but it's just not possible during 20, 30 years time. But somehow throughout the years, especially the last 3 years, I noticed that there are changes to this, how machine can help us to work. So I personally not able to use that facility or the machine yet, but I see that is a great potential where we going to head on from now.
So as you've progressed from a chef to then working kind of behind the scenes, your role really moved into food technology, which is an entire
That's
space in
correct.
itself. What is food technology?
Okay, food technologies using basic raw material of salt, sugar, certain amino acids, and using of certain modified starches, spices, to create a basic taste environment for the food product. Then you build on to the food structure in terms of what kind of a food that will be going into. For example, if it's a liquid soup, then you have more ingredient using vegetable protein as well as the starches into that manner. Okay, that is if the product goes into the soup. But then using the same principle, this can apply to processed meat. It can apply to noodles, pastas, ready meals, etc., etc.
So a food technologist is breaking down the components of food and looking at maybe new ways to experience it.
Another way to put it, food technologies enable the manufacturer to have a consistent method of preparation of food. At the
Okay.
same time, safeguard the integrity of the food itself so that it can be still as delicious and as tasty as should be. But at the same time, because we are talking about mass production,
Hmm.
so there's always cost involved, how to bring it down, uh, producing more, cheaper, and faster. As usual, the business point of view of producing it.
Yeah.
Are we going into processed food? No. I believe that always how we see processed food as a lesser of evil in that manner.
Hmm. Your current role is the current role you have is head of future food.
Yes.
What does that mean? I mean, that's kind of a really, I mean, that could be a very broad role.
It is. Okay, this one takes a bit more explanation.
Oh,
Now,
that's good.
a lot of time we are looking at this advancement in technology to produce household kitchen appliances.
Hmm.
We see the most recent one about 7 years ago. We have this superheated air fryer instead of deep frying. A very same concept of heating, but at a faster speed, and the food can be browned at a faster way instead of using microwave, which you can heat up the food, but you can't really brown the food itself. So air frying is a great technology to come by, but at the same time, we see the induction stove and things like that. It gives the end user, the consumer, the homemakers, save a lot of time, as well as in the industry itself. We do not need the gas, but electric will just able to speed up the things. So what I'm trying to say is that's a great improvement in terms of cooking appliances. However, what we are not seeing is how can the food be improved so that we can have it better, more nutritional, more sustainable, and at the same time good for the planet and good for us. So in this aspect, it is about future food, what we're going to consume in future, but we're going to start with now. How we're going to consume the food now that will impact us in regards to every day. Can we eat better but more sustainable? Can we eat better yet still maintain that deliciousness? So future food is really about how we see food now. How can we change it? Are we looking at the perfect apple, or can we have it's still an apple, but we can have it differently, but still deliciously and enjoy the apple?
That actually brings me to you know, something that we wanted to talk about today is the utilization of AI technologies. And when I say AI technologies, I'm talking about um, natural machine learning, deep learning, language processing, being able to augment the human condition faster, more accurately, and with oftentimes higher confidence. And you mentioned breaking the food down so that it can be healthier. One of the concepts that we've talked about earlier was utilizing AI to create new recipes, either improve recipes, create recipes, or change the recipes so that the foods that we're eating today is healthier. I'd like to understand your perspectives of would AI in this scenario actually provide more benefits to us?
Okay, so uh, from the food technologist point of view, all the food starts with a basic formulation of
Hmm.
understanding the raw material use. Now, all these raw material use can be measured and can be quantified in terms of the quality, as well as the quantity. They can be transformed into numbers.
Mm.
So if that can be done,
Mhm.
I see no reason why it cannot be feed into the algorithm of an AI and transform them into a data to be processed by the machine.
So
That is
from
my very
yeah,
simple thoughts
yeah.
of that to begin with.
Yeah, because you mentioned, because really the food technology space is, I think, where we're seeing more innovation. And you mentioned earlier just the innovation and compliance and how the consumers, um, you know, how the consumer takes the food, but also I think how, from the behind the scenes, the research and the development, I could absolutely see where an AI technology could take a food that we currently use today, whatever it is, mashed potatoes, something that's consumed quite broadly on a global scale, and very quickly run scenarios and simulations to say, hey, if we just make these little bit of tweaks, we could actually serve the same type of mashed potatoes, but with these extra ingredients or with this extra twist, it could be healthier. So now
Right.
individuals consuming that product, hey, I love mashed potatoes, but it doesn't really do anything for me, now can say I love mashed potatoes, and now I'm getting majority of my health.
Yes, I
Okay.
could provide another example.
Yeah.
In fact, this is what I currently doing. So in the space of meat alternative that I'm doing now, we
Hmm.
are utilizing soy, the soy protein that we are sourcing all over the world. But there are so many that we could source. There are so many data that we could gather. There are so many grades of soy protein in regards to different grades, different protein content, and most importantly, where they are coming from within certain radius of in terms of the source of where this coming from. Now, in order to have a very sustainable way to produce, we shouldn't import and invest too much on the carbon footprint. But in order for us to narrow down the search and choosing the right balance between the price, the supply, as well as the functionality of the soy protein, if we take human to do it, I'm sure we could do it, but it takes a long, long time.
Mm.
But if we could feed all this information and turn it into a data that can be processed, the combination and also the permutation that comes about will be much faster, and the analysis that done by the machine helps the human to put things together. I see that is a possibility.
I want to stay a little bit on the topic of the alternative meat products or
Okay.
alternative meat products. So these are, for everyone listening, these are your plant-based meat industry. Companies like Amy's Kitchen, Beyond Meat, Boca Foods, and I think probably here in the States, something a little bit more known or more popular is the Impossible Foods. For example, they now have the Impossible Burger at Burger King, and here in the States with Starbucks have the Impossible Breakfast Sandwich. Now, what I've noticed with some of these companies is, the perception of the alternative meats and the hasn't really been, exciting. A lot of times the vegetarians that I speak with or the foods that I try myself, they're very dry, nobody really likes it. And then suddenly technology is burst in the past couple years where the flavor profiles have been raised within these alternative meats where it almost tastes exactly like and it looks like and it burns and cooks like real meat. So with your experience in alternative meats, have have you been able to do you have any thoughts about where that technology is coming from or how we've been
Okay.
able to expand that industry?
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's take a piece of burger to as our discussion point.
Yes.
Now, a piece of burger, we talk about the structure of the burger.
Hmm.
We also talk about the color, the appearance of the burger. Then after that, we also need to talk about how can the burger smell, and especially before cooking, during cooking, and after cooking, the aroma generated by the burger itself. So all these three aspects, and not to forget the nutritional aspect of the burger itself.
Mhm.
So it's really about uh, three-dimensional, but then again, within that three-dimensional, there's always a space. How can we make the burger more affordable, more sustainable, at the same time, make the burger more uh, as delicious as it is if it's not coming from the animal. Okay, so let me jump into the quickest one. In terms of the color, the color can be natural colors that we can get from derived from vegetable process. So that one is not difficult to achieve,
Mhm.
but to achieve the correct tone of the color, you need a combination of two or three different colors to make it a much more vibrant in terms of slightly more closer to red meat or closer to white meat or dark meat. So the tone of color can be an interesting uh, combination to begin with. In fact, it's not as easy as mixing color A and color B. It's about the different shades of color, and there are some colors can be encapsulated and come in much later when it's heat activated and change the color when the cooking process begins. So these are something that the technology can help
Mhm.
uh, on the food integrity itself. That's one.
Mhm. Yes, I'm seeing this now. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. So next we move on to the texture. Now this is a big topic. Now, the texture to put in uh, ingredients to look like a meat is not as simple as what we used to have. However, with the technology that able to come up with certain binders and certain emulsifier and certain stabilizers to combine the water, the protein, and the fats, which normally all these three doesn't add together. But the emulsifying effect through the advancement of technology, the water, the oil, the fats, as well as the protein, able to come in together very nicely and firmly, and that's where you get the good texture as close as what animal protein offers. Now that is on the texture in a very simplicity way. The third one is about the aroma.
Mm.
Now, which is the most difficult of all, because now animal protein do inherently they do have certain smell and aroma, and the smell changes as we cook the piece of burger or chicken. However, if it is a plant-based, can we do that? Again, the technology will enable the flavor to activate at certain temperature point to release certain aroma, and as we continue to cook, and it will continue to activate based on the the temperature itself, or that what we call a time release activation of encapsulation. So the longer we cook to until certain point of time, the piece of burger will release the full flavor when it's being consumed by the consumer. So here it goes, technology again play an important role in putting up the flavor together, because you do not want a piece of burger to smell the same before, during cooking, and after. You would like it to change like a real animal protein. How can we do that? It doesn't happen easily, but it can be done.
So I think this is probably a really good use case for AI technology. You've mentioned
Yes.
you've mentioned breaking food down almost to its chemical component, and specifically with alternative meats where we're looking at plant-based, well, anything, that's non let me rephrase that. Specifically looking at alternative products. So whether it's spirulina or some protein that's attaching itself to a plant under the water, all of these things are not known to us. We haven't experienced cooking with them before. So if I'm looking at this on the other side, the research side, I'm taking all of these products from around the world that we've never experienced. I'm having to break it down into its components, almost down to its chemical compounds. And then I need to be able to run simulations after simulations after simulations with just that product. But then I need to also understand how it's going to combine with other products. And you've mentioned just three, and I'm sure there's more, three areas that the flavor itself, the texture and how it sits and contains itself, and then also the smell and how it cooks over time. Yes, I absolutely think this is probably the best use case I could think of where AI could come in and augment the amount of time that it would take to research all of this into a shorter period of time.
Right. So when I'm leading a team currently, I'm leading a team of food technologists. So one of the reminder I always tell them, uh, do not have too many variable. Keep
Mm,
your constant and have a not more than two variable as you do on the trials. Now, there's a lot of permutation, but with the experienced food technologists, they will know how many trials they could they will do to achieve certain result. But again, if we talk about a new product, if
mhm.
we talk about a ingredient that we never used before, we talk about evaluation of certain replacement product. There's a lot of trial and error, and after that we will have to really taste them in order to give a correct organoleptic sensory evaluation. So this takes a lot of time. Okay, so whereby if we have certain all these are being captured in numbers. When we taste certain product, we are giving them scores. We are giving them very meaningful evaluation based on sensory data. And that is a huge topic itself, sensory data science. That can be also be used by the machine, interpret and analyzed by the machine. The algorithm will have a good, uh, uh, how to say, to give the meaningful interpretation of what the numbers are. So in this case, it will help us from the food technologist point of view to come up with certain permutation faster without going through all the series of work that I mentioned earlier.
Mhm. You mentioned earlier the sense of smell, and I know that taste and smell often have a very close relationship with each other. I was reading online, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have the exact quote, but online there was a chef that mentioned that the sense of taste is best in the morning when it's been unencumbered by other things. And as we go throughout the day, that sense of taste wavers and it becomes less. And every time we eat something else, that sense of taste gets less and less throughout the end of the day. Another use case that I think that we could probably discuss is how we could use AI to understand the flavors of the food and then be able to impact how we consume it throughout the day.
Yes, that is true as what you said, you correctly pointed out. It's best to taste, uh, our senses are more sensitive are more acute in the morning. So there's this sensory fatigue as the days goes by, because it's the same tongue that we have, and we can't change another tongue. So we just have to use back the same one, and that relies on the memory that we have to taste. So there's always a sensory fatigue kicks in. So best that is taste in the morning. As we speak now, there are already companies, especially dealing with flavors and chemicals, already using AI to process the data to come up with a better flavor, a better combination of chemical molecules, combination of them to come up with a more uh, more price sensitive flavor, more stable flavor that can withstand certain heat resistant, and also the flavor can be, the smell and the flavor can be more closer to what the natural food product brings. For example, strawberry. Strawberry is not difficult to identify as a strawberry ripe, strawberry jammy, or strawberry sweet, and or strawberry is just plain raw. But how to get all this right in the shortest time, AI can do that. I strongly believe that. In fact, I know they already happening.
You know, I just thought about this. Who determines what food tastes good? I never thought about that until just now, but I was at a restaurant the other day, and one daughter loved the food that I was eating, and another daughter tried it, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't like it." And if we're
Okay.
talking about and if we're talking about AI and how AI could impact the flavors or the sense of smell, we still need to have a human behind the scenes that says, yes, that's the flavor we were going for. I mean, it sounds like the AI technology is there to maybe augment the simulations and run those permutations and variables, but it's not replacing the chef. It's not going to replace the food technologist, because somebody needs to physically be there to say, yes, this strawberry tastes exactly the way it should, even after we've done all of these things to modify the strawberry.
Yeah, the hell no, that the machine gonna take away my job. No, something that we do it almost every day. So when we taste a food product, still in the early development stage, we make sure that all the comments, all the ranking of how strong is the strawberry notes,
Hmm.
okay, how we describe the strawberry notes, and how this strawberry is it a sweet, sour, and or all these valuable comments are being captured. So we do spend time process them. Now, AI will help in this manner, but AI will not tell you until we feed the AI sufficiently to form the big data that they have, what is called sour. There is always a threshold that is good for human being, certain sourness. A strawberry, if it's not sour, certain do not have certain acidity, do not carry certain sourness, it is not a nice strawberry. But a strawberry that has upfront sweetness, but in the sweetness, it carries an undertone of sourness, and also a sweetness lingering behind aftertaste, that is a good strawberry. Now, how can we achieve that? Until we feed the AI with certain threshold that we determine the threshold, then the AI will in return process that and help us for a faster processing.
Hmm.
Did I lost you?
No, I'm thinking, I mean, I've got food now in my head. So I've got all these things going on. The other piece that I was thinking of is the combination of foods. For example, when I eat a peppermint leaf Yes, I get that peppermint flavor, but when I eat a peppermint leaf and I eat it with some very dark chocolate, I've noticed that the peppermint is more peppermint. The flavor of the peppermint is raised, you know, to a different level. So I'm thinking another use case here is certainly the combination of foods and how we combine foods together, or how a restaurant would put certain foods on the plate to be more adaptable, but maybe to combine together and create something better.
Okay. Uh, yes, in fact, it's already happening. Yeah,
Okay.
uh, it's what we call food pairing.
Okay.
What best? Who does? Who decided that chocolate pairs well with peppermint?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is HO combination somehow. But what we are talking about, could we have new pairing,
Mm-hmm.
for instance? So this one actually championed by Hazen Blumenthal, a very renowned chef in UK. He pairs caviar with white chocolate,
Okay.
and it goes very well. Trust me, I tasted that.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm sure there are a lot more combination that we do not know of.
Mm-hmm.
But as we speak, what I've known, there's some groups of scientists as well as food technologists and also chefs who are talking about cultural differences behind each food pairing. Why
Oh.
does it pair? Why they are bringing in much more than just why this food pair with this. They are bringing in the cultural, their geographical, the place where they grow certain food. So they are putting all this information, and surprisingly, uh, according I did read an article uh, in terms of food pairing, there are differences between the West and the East.
Hmm.
The West would like to just look for a good pairing in terms of two kinds of food. That means food A and food B share certain similarity in terms of molecule. That's a good combination of food pairing. But they discovered in over the eastern side, a lot of food do not need the similarity of molecule to pair the food. So in this combination, the food A and the food B have totally no relationship between whatsoever in terms of molecular level. However, they are using a third food, that means the food number C, as a bridging flavor. So they able to classify in terms of geographical area, the North Asia and the South Asia, and over the European side and the US side, which country or which continent will have this tendency to pair flavors based on same molecular structure, and which country or continents would like to pair food based on the third party, that means the food number C, as a bridging flavor to bring the combination of food together. I am blown away with this kind of result. But in order to achieve that, no way and no amount of human analytical mind and also the time to process all this data. It
Mm-hmm.
got to be AI behind this.
Yes. I didn't even I mean, I'm not a food technologist. I just really like food. And I didn't even think about some of the nuances and the additional variables that you just brought up. That just looking at food at at a molecular level and how it impacts culturally. And you're not even really talking about, at one point, yeah, the US versus, Asia Pacific, but you were also talking about the nuances within that Asia Pacific geographical area. That's pretty amazing. That's a lot. You're
Yes.
right. It's a lot of data. Mhm.
Then in fact, I just wish, okay, they are probably they already being done. How can the nutritional value
Mm,
could impact the food combination at a very affordable way? Because nutritional food at times not that affordable. That's one. Then how could, when we combine food, especially from a food preparator point of view, when we combine food, how can we make sure that whenever the ingredient we use are sustainable and actually much reduced carbon footprint? Can we do that before we actually start cooking? Can we do a simple planning when we do the shopping on the grocery for the food? Can we do that? Only I can only choose from certain area or certain lists that are all sustainable within 300 kilometers radius, not more than that. Could we do that? Could we narrow down to 150 kilometers radius? So
mm.
this all this information are useful. It's not that chef doesn't care about global warming or environmental awareness, but we need the tools to enable them to do so.
Well, I'm glad you're thinking about this because you've taken it one step further. It's not just looking at how AI can impact the food, the taste. I mean, we've talked about taste, we've talked about texture, we've talked about how the food changes when it's cooked, and you've even referenced that how it's cooked differently, whether it's in a fryer, air fryer, whether it's an induction versus gas versus electric. But now you're taking that one step further and how AI could impact a more nutritional value at a price that's affordable for everyone. And I think that's just an amazing concept.
Yeah. So this is all about how can we do it better. That's
Mhm.
why I'm in this space of how can we search for a better way to do things, better way to cook, better way to manufacture food. That's what future food all about.
I think that what I've learned today is that AI is not a trend in in this space in food technology. It's something that's really going to help the food technology space evolve probably more quickly in the next couple years, but I'm seeing it move away from a trend. So trend for me is there are pockets where maybe this is being used, and I could see it evolving into something more of a permanent reality. But what I've also learned today is that you are not going away. That just because AI has a variable calculation that says this is what it's supposed to be, we still need the human interaction. We still need you as that food technologist to ensure that that's the right combination, to ensure that it is sustainable, to ensure that it is going to provide that nutritional value and it's affordable.
Yes, I strongly believe that technology is a double-edged sword. It's just how we're going to use it. And I believe that with AI, it's really about it should be help us better to deal with food, especially, to be honest, our food system is a broken pieces. It needs to fix. I just hoped uh, there are people working on it. I'm working on it uh, in a very small way, but we just need to fix our current food system. It's not that we got not enough food. It is about how we're going to distribute the food. It is totally different topic, I understand, but it's really about the entire food system, that how can we make it better for everyone on
Mhm.
this planet.
So as we wrap up, what do you think is next? I mean, you're in this space. What's next for the future of food? Where's this going?
At this moment, we are looking at how can we uh, do something, a very small way of doing it, meaning by changing the way people eat. That's something I'm doing now. And what's next, as to answer your question, is really about making it much more affordable, but still maintain the integrity of the food. After all, we are not human, not talking about if I will save the planet, I'll pay it through my pocket without tasting it good. the taste is still the paramount of every food technologist to make it tasty, to make it delicious, and yet to safeguard the integrity of the food itself. So the future is not to have a totally entirely new food, but how to have a similar taste, better quality, better nutritional, and much more affordable.
That's wonderful. Do you have any final thoughts?
My thought, yes, I do hope that how can we distribute the food much better. Food wastage is my main concern.
Mhm.
Is how can we fix that?
Food waste.
Yes,
You mentioned earlier about changing the way we eat. Does that somehow connect with your comment about wanting to reduce the food waste?
yes, because when we choose certain ingredient to go into preparation of food, it begins from there. Are we able to make a better decision so that we do not waste food during the processing? That's one.
Mm,
Can we select certain raw material and can have a better shelf life so that we do not waste food? Can we make sure that when the expiry date is being stated as of today, this is going to expire? How can we change that? Is it because the law said so, or because it has gone through a series of tests? There's a lot of because we have to abide by certain food regulation, and that's where the food waste. I
mm,
witnessed that we throw away food because it's just stated that it hit the expiry date without even assessing whether is it still good or not.
mm.
So this is something, it is, yes, we are abiding by the food law, that's for sure, no doubt, but how can we do better? How can we prevent this from the very beginning? But if we come to that stage, how can we process that kind of thoughts by not just decide to throw away the food? All these are I have, honestly, I have no answers for it, but it's really, can we not look at it in a different perspective and upcycle it into a differently?
Mhm.
So it's really about how to reduce is the wastage to begin with. But before we reduce the wastage, how can we do a better selection from a start?
And I
That's
think
something
that,
I
yeah,
that's something, yeah.
no, I hear the passion. I think this is I understand. I think what we've learned today is there's so much still to be undiscovered around food and so many areas within the food life cycle that can be improved upon, and not just what we're talking about at the earlier part of the conversation, the impact to the consumer, which increases profits or helps reduce the affordability for that consumer, the taste, the texture, the alternative proteins, trying to feed more people around the world. But I think you've also hinted that there's a responsibility, part to this. There's the distribution to individuals that maybe perhaps can't reach the food that we're producing, and more importantly, the waste of the food that you've mentioned. And here is, I think, another really good use case for AI.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I really appreciate your time today. I know that you and I are completely in the opposite time zones of the world at the moment. Thank you so much for staying up late to be a part of this. And I would love to have another opportunity to talk with you in about a year from now on the same subject, because I have a feeling, based on what you're doing, things are going to be moving quite quickly within the food technology space.
Okay, I'll love to. I'll
Yeah,
love to. Yeah. All
great.
right. Sure.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank